Should the Pittsburgh Steelers consider benching their starters this weekend against the Cincinnati Bengals if the Ravens lock up the division with a win over the Browns on Saturday? I'll answer that question at the top of today's edition of Steelers Talk. Also, Steelers legend Big Ben Roethlisberger spoke on the quarterback situation between Russell Wilson and Justin Fields and which QB he'd bring back for 2025 as QB1. Then we'll finish up today's show talking about Roman Wilson and Cole Holcomb, who were activated from IR, that 21-day practice window, and practiced in full for the first time in a while. So we'll break that down at the end of today's show, so make sure you guys stick around. But first, it is New Year's Eve, guys. And before we bring in 2025, help us win the race for the most subscribers gained of any channel here at Chat Sports for 2024. Right now, the Raiders report is sitting at 30,626 new subscribers. We're sitting just 35 subscribers behind them. If you're new to this channel and haven't clicked that subscribe button yet, we provide you guys free and informative Steelers content. Help Steelers fandom be number one this year by clicking that subscribe button right now and help us pass the Raiders report. Okay, now let's get into the content today here. And the first thing that I want to answer here is, should the Steelers sit their starters for the Bengals game if the Ravens beat the Cleveland Browns on Saturday afternoon? And for me, guys, the answer to that question is no. The Steelers starters should start regardless, and they should be playing the entire game, at least until the game is kind of closed away. All right, and I've got a couple reasons for that. Number one, a win would lock up the number 5 seed for sure, even if the Ravens win, which means you get to play the Houston Texans on the road in the first round of the playoffs, and an extremely beatable opponent with a bad offensive line and C.J. Stroud at quarterback, giving up way too many turnovers, going up against the Steelers defense, which is currently tied for first in takeaways this year. I love that matchup for Pittsburgh. Also, if you win and the Ravens lose, you get a home playoff game against the Los Angeles Chargers, which is obviously beneficial, a team that doesn't have a lot of weapons on offense there for Justin Herbert to utilize. Whereas if you lose, you're probably going to be playing the Baltimore Ravens as the number 6 seed on the road, having to play Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, that very talented offense yet again. I think the Steelers can beat the Ravens, so it's not the end of the world no matter what happens for Pittsburgh here in round one, but I would rather play Houston and the Chargers, so that's reason number one. But the second reason is, as Mike Tomlin pointed out in his press conference earlier this week, this team needs to get the stench off of the multiple bad games that they have put together here over the last 3 weeks. All right, 3 straight blowout losses. You got to get the stench off of that, off this football team. And a win versus a really, formidable Cincinnati Bengals team at home ending their season is definitely a way to get this locker room believing in this squad yet again. So I absolutely think no matter what the Ravens do against the Browns, you got to play your starters on Saturday night, and I expect Mike Tomlin to do just that. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comment section. Should the Pittsburgh Steelers play their starters if the Baltimore Ravens win versus Cleveland? Simply give me a yes or a no down there in the comment section for today's pinned comment. In just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor today at Prize Picks before we get into the rest of today's Steelers content. And when I'm talking about Prize Picks, find that pinned comment at the top of the comment section and answer today's pinned question with a yes or a no. With that, let's have word from our sponsor here at Prize Picks, which is the best place to get real money sports action all on your phone this football season. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more than or less than on at least 2 player stat projections for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play just $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday, where every Tuesday, PrizePicks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. You guys can download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. When you use promo code CLNS, if you are confused about that, it's right down there in the bottom right of your screen. It's CLNS for the promo code. That's $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. When you download the PrizePicks app today, use code CLNS as the promo code. PrizePicks, run your game. So the window to practice and return from the injured reserve was open for 3 Steelers players today. Rookie wide receiver Roman Wilson out of producer Jack's University of Michigan. Then we got Cole Holcomb the inside linebacker that's missed all season with that knee injury that he suffered last year versus the Tennessee Titans, that really gruesome knee injury. And then Logan Lee, the defensive tackle, a rookie out of Iowa, also returned to practice today. So now these three players have 21 days to be added to the active roster. And of course, those 21 days are up before the deadline, before the playoffs anyway. So it's going to be interesting to see if all three, if one, if two, if any of these guys get on the active roster before the playoffs begin. Now, what I'll say here, guys, is I wouldn't necessarily hold my breath that we see any of these guys. Maybe we see Roman again. Maybe we see Cole again. But honestly, guys, I'm not too sure we see any of these three guys, even though they're back at practice, even though I saw some clips of Roman Wilson run some routes today. He looks explosive. He looks as explosive as he has really since OTAs. I mean, after that knee injury that he suffered, or I believe is an ankle injury at Latrobe, even when he got back, he wasn't as explosive as you want to see. But today he looked really, really good in the clips that I saw. But now shifting our focus here to Cole Holcomb. And I just don't know, even if he's good to go and good enough to play, I don't know if you want to put a player out there that hasn't practiced all year and hasn't played all year. We know this Steelers defense in the second and third levels here has been kind of plagued by miscommunications, blown coverages, all these different things. And for a guy in Cole Holcomb who hasn't been on the practice field, who hasn't been on the playing field, going all the way to like midway through last season, how much can you really trust a guy like this to play this late into the season and, get every coverage call right, communicate effectively with the rest of the defense? We've seen some communication issues on this defense over the last several weeks, and honestly, I think that he would be a liability if you play him at this point in the season, but it's great to see that he's back on the playing field. I'm hoping that he's good to go for 2025. And then when it comes to Roman Wilson here, guys, I think that at this point, he's just so far behind. When he came back from that ankle injury at one point this season, Mike Tomlin said the reason why he wasn't playing, the reason why he was getting healthy scratches for certain games was because he was trying to get on a moving train. And, he's missed another big stretch of time where he hasn't been practicing. And it's nice to see that he's back out there, that he's running routes, that he's participating. But I just don't know how much of a value he would be for the Pittsburgh Steelers offense if he's thrown out there at this point in time. And honestly, man, my worry about Roman Wilson at this point is that, I think that he was probably relatively healthy a couple weeks ago, and they continued to keep him on IR, kind of giving him almost like a redshirt season. But honestly, we know how, questionable this wide receiver room is here in Pittsburgh, and especially after George Pickens got hurt here. I think if Roman Wilson was the real deal and they knew that he was going to be a stud coming out this season, that they probably would have tried to get him on the field as soon as they possibly could, but that's not what happened. They've been playing it extremely safe with Roman, and, I think that hopefully it's good for his future in the long run. He stays 100% healthy. He doesn't have any long-term issues, and I'm hoping in future seasons he becomes a stud for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I really liked him coming out of Michigan. But the fact that he hasn't really hit the field much really at all during this season, despite some wide receiver issues in that room, it definitely has me a little bit worried heading into the future when it comes to Roman Wilson. So predict it for me down there in the comments section. Does Roman Wilson get a second contract with the Steelers past his rookie contract? Type Y for yes or type N for no. Let me know your thoughts down there in the comments. So before I go here, Big Ben had some stuff to say on his podcast. It's called the Footballin' Podcast. I recommend it. If you like Big Ben, you want to talk some football with somebody or listen to somebody talk about football that was a former NFL quarterback. And the first thing that he mentioned was that he thinks Russell Wilson has earned an extension to come back and be QB1 for the Pittsburgh Steelers, okay? So this is what Big Ben had to say on Russ potentially getting an extension with the black and gold. Yeah, I think he's earned an extension. I think he's played well, especially in that stretch in the middle. Obviously, he hasn't played well the last couple of games. Only one of those was with George, which was a big deal for Russ. To me, Russ is a feast or famine guy. He's throwing really short passes or he's throwing the deep ball. He's got one of the prettiest and best deep balls in the game. You're not just going to be able to give Russ, I don't think you can do a 1 year. If I were a betting man, I would say if the Steelers really wanted Russ back, I assume it would be like a 3-year for $100 million, kind of what Baker Mayfield got in Tampa Bay. And I think I'm in alignment here with Big Ben. I think that the Steelers want Russell Wilson back. I think he fits what they want. They want somebody that doesn't turn the ball over all that much, somebody that has a great deep ball to keep defenses honest, and somebody that's going to hit checkdowns when he doesn't have the deep options. They want to be a team that can run the football very effectively, dominate up front, and then they want their very expensive defense to be kind of the main engine for victory. Whether you agree with that strategy or not, that's what Mike Tomlin and the Steelers want to do. And Russell Wilson fits that bill, and he's probably not going to be as expensive as somebody like Sam Darnold. If you wanted to trade for a Matthew Stafford or a Kyler Murray, right? This is something that's an affordable option for Pittsburgh. He's a veteran. He's somebody with playoff experience. I think he fits what the Steelers want. I think they will go out and sign him to another contract. That is, if he doesn't completely crap the bed in the final 2 games. However, I do think Russ needs to show his worth. All right, this is what the Steelers brought him in for. Late season success, playoff victories. Can he deliver that this year? Can he play at a high level on the big stage? We're going to find out here in the weeks to come. And if he does so, I think he locks in his positioning as the Steelers QB1 in 2025. Okay, now let's talk about what he had to say about Justin Fields and the possibility of bringing him back as this team's backup quarterback next year. This is what Ben had to say. I don't think that you want to lose Justin. I think it'd kill the cap, but just try and keep Justin around for another year and see what you can get. And once again, I'm right there with Big Ben Roethlisberger, man. If you can bring back both of these quarterbacks and have this be your quarterback room again in 2025, I think that's a good thing. If Russell Wilson falls off a cliff, you got a talented guy in Justin Fields that you know you can win football games with, that can be implemented right away and potentially even be a franchise quarterback for the future. But, the reality is, if Fields gets an opportunity to compete for a starting job in the free agency market, which isn't impossible. He did go 4-2 with the Steelers this year and collected 10 touchdowns. So it's certainly possible that a team like the Browns, like the Jets, somebody else might be looking for somebody to compete for a starting job, a younger guy that could be a franchise caliber dude. And it's definitely possible if they bring back Russ that Fields goes elsewhere. But if the Steelers have the opportunity to get back Fields to be QB1 or QB2 for next season on the cheap, I'm absolutely on board with that. Now, finally here, Big Ben addressed Russ's Christmas interception. Now, there's been a lot that have been, discussed about this interception, whether or not George Pickens ran the right route and whether that pick was more on George Pickens or Mike Tomlin. Well, Mike Tomlin at his press conference earlier this week put it on Russ, saying George's route running had zero to do with that interception. He did not let Russ off the hook, despite Russ saying that Pickens was supposed to run a vertical route post-game after that loss to Kansas City. Mike Tomlin said, "Nuh-uh, buddy, that thing is on you." However, Big Ben contradicted that message that Mike T put out earlier this week, saying it was more on George Pickens. This is what he had to say. Issue number 1, and they showed the replay, is George Pickens didn't run his route. That's issue number 1, because if he doesn't run his route, which he didn't, he just I don't even know what you call it, the safety has no threat now. And if I'm the safety and I'm looking at the quarterback and my priority is I have this part of the field, well, if that receiver who never takes it to my zone, well, I don't have to look at my zone anymore. He's got Pat, talking about Pat Freiermuth, going down the middle, and now I can go rob that ball because there's nothing holding me over there. If George runs his route down the sideline, I have to honor that. I can now turn my head in and look for anything coming into a zone from the middle, which is exactly what happened. Now, but then he also said here, now Russ has to see that. He can't blindly throw a ball in there. And, I'm looking at this, producer Jack. This analysis sounds very familiar. Where have I seen analysis like that? Well, you could have saw this on my Twitter when I went through Russ's film against the Kansas City Chiefs. This was my take on the interception. Here's the red zone interception, and in my opinion, it's just as much on GP for not running the vertical to occupying the bracketing safety as it is on Russ. Exactly what Big Ben said. Yes, Russ should confirm the backside safety, but I understand why he doesn't. The reality is if GP runs his route, this is likely a touchdown in my opinion. Sounds pretty familiar, that we just discussed there with Big Ben. If you want to see my entire collection of film analysis on Russell Wilson this season, you can find it on my X account. I'm at Jack_Sperry. We break down every single game on my X account every single week. Can't put it up on YouTube because we get demonetized, but I put my film analysis on X. So if you guys want to check that out, you can find me at Jack_Sperry to learn more about football every single week. Now, that'll be it for today's show, guys. Really do appreciate you guys sticking around with me here to the very end. I want to wish you guys a very happy new year. It's been a super successful 2024 campaign for us. I can't wait to get things going with you guys tomorrow, and I'll see you guys in 2025.